is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 25 of Real Estate Agent Rehab. And we have a really great topic today, and I think it's the number one trending topic in real estate podcasts. So, Vance, why don't you tell us what we're talking about today?
How fitting it is today for our 25th anniversary episode to be talking about something that is very, very high in everybody's mind right now: home buying trends and the buyer behaviors behind them. All right, let's jump right in and just talk about that. Amir, as the broker and working, with all the listings that we have and whatnot, are you seeing longer listing times broker level?
Yes, absolutely. Houses are taking longer to sell, and it's mainly because there's a shift in real estate prices that is happening. We are on a downward trend. I'm not just making this up. You can look at all the data from CAR and NAR. You can see how prices are coming down. And what's happening is a lot of agents are going back into the comps of 3-6 months ago, maybe up to a year, depending, if there are enough comps out there, and using those comps as what they should be pricing the property at today, which is a big no-no. So 80% of what sells a house is a price. So you got to price it right. And I'm telling all my agents, what you might think it's worth, hit it at like 10% below that price, and it's probably what it's worth.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but for the past, 4 or 5 years, haven't we been hearing that home prices have to come down?
Yes.
And that they're too high?
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, as they start to come down, everybody panics that home prices are coming down.
Right.
So I'd love to know what the actual panic is. Is it just movement in the market, whether or not home prices are going up or down? Like, it's so funny the way people say they need something. Once it starts coming, they panic and say, this is the problem.
Well, I think the market just took some time to catch up to itself. And I think basically, in my professional opinion, what happened was, we had kind of a shortage of inventory. We had, rates that were low in 2 and 3% range. We had kind of a feeding frenzy in the real estate market, and then rates started to creep up. However, inventory levels didn't creep up yet. And it took time for the COVID hangover, so to speak, to happen to where eventually, the market was slowing down and less properties were being sold. And that hype of like, I got to buy a house, even if the rate's higher, I'll refinance it or whatever, that hype has kind of died off. And now with the elections and everything that's going on in the world and, kind of what's happening, now people are really starting to put the brakes on because the uncertainty is consistent. And we don't know if the rates are going to come down or not. And during that time, now we have more people putting their homes on the market trying to catch these high prices, and buyers are not stepping up to the plate due to affordability. So now the inventory levels have caught up, and now sellers are forced to reduce their prices, and properties that aren't perfect, that have imperfections, like on a busy street or maybe a fixer-upper or whatever, are being affected tremendously and having to make those necessary price reductions. And now we have to hit properties harder that are on a busy street or may have a death on the property or whatever the disclosure might be. You have to hit those properties harder than the ones that are fixed and turnkey and in good areas.
Personally, I'm seeing a tremendous rise in people with wanting that move-in ready home that's hits all the boxes. It's got everything that they want, and it's something that I've been talking about for years. We're not in a buyer or a seller market. We're in a value-based market. The bottom line is, if the home is worth it, it goes quickly, and if it doesn't, you find out very quickly. And
absolutely.
The idea though, so creating a move-in ready property, it's simple. All right. One of the things that you can do personally as a real estate agent, on the listing side, is maybe get that inspection done prior to going on the market, fixing the things that are broken, so that when people walk in, they're not walking in and seeing the things they need to fix, understanding that these things have been fixed, or literally creating a buy-in budget right in there that's saying, hey, you know what, we're going to give you it, years ago, we used to give, flooring budgets and all these things built right into the pricing of the home. And that kind of went away through COVID and all these other things where it was like, just throw the sign out there and make it happen. But now we got to come back to the reality that we're marketers, right? We're marketers in these products of homes, and we need to make sure that they're going out there to the right people at the right levels and creating interest.
Yeah, and what I think too is there's like this shift, because I actually have listings, and I have listings that are nice, and I have listings that are not so nice, and I've had a run of listings that were fixer-uppers, like major fixers. Yeah. So I think there's a big delta. You have the properties that are totally fixed up, that are turnkey, and keep in mind, people can finance that. People don't have to worry about paying a contractor, a ton of money and going through that construction process. So those properties are always going to sell. Then you have the properties that are just total fixers, that we just know it's going to go to an investor or somebody that wants to fix it up and is ready to take on that construction project. And I think those are the two areas that actually sell, because Absolutely. They're marketable in different ways. It's that in-between property that maybe hasn't been updated since 2005 or 2010. It's kind of in between. Maybe it needs new carpet. Maybe the walls are yellow and maroon and, not so neutral colors. And those are the properties that tend to struggle and sit on the market. And so those are the opportunities of which, as agents now, for buyers, we have to have those conversations with our sellers and say, listen, like, your walls are maroon. Okay, your cabinets are dated, but, your counters might be salvageable. Why don't we just do a paint job and then change out the flooring? It's amazing what those two things, paint and flooring, can do to a property. It's not going to be fully done up and dolled up like the property that's just been flipped or renovated or whatever, but it's going to put your property up at a higher marketing level, of which it's going to need now if you want to bring the money, or bring all the money, quote unquote, for the property. So there's a fine line there. There's that, fixer to the turnkey, and then the in-between, and it's the in-between ones that we need to focus on more as agents to create that illusion, so to speak, where it looks like it's fixed up and maybe it's just painted, and someone can live in it for a while and accept the way that it is until they decide to rip out cabinets and bathrooms and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm finding the best thing you can do first and foremost is clean up the front yard. Give it some really nice curb appeal so that when people pull up to it, they're not turned off immediately by what's going on, out front. I see more investors work more on the inside and leave the outside alone. And it's like, that's where you really need to kind of spruce that up and make it that shining light, because that's what people are seeing. The idea, though, is, the economic uncertainty of today. What is it? We have interest rates going up or down here. They're moving around. We got all these different things going on in government and whatnot. But it doesn't change the one thing. And this holds true for everything, through COVID, through every other issue, through the crash of 2009. People need to move. They need to sell their homes. People need to buy homes. Our job as realtors is putting ourselves in the middle of that transaction, finding that transaction, or better yet, like what we were just talking about, finding that middle of the road fixer and having them just do enough, I don't want to say lipstick, but putting enough makeup on the property that people feel like they can move in and live there. Okay, and giving it that fresh feel, that fresh coat of paint, so to speak. And that takes you a long way. And unfortunately, most buyers, getting into the buyer behavior, they can't see past what they're looking at. I don't want to say they don't have vision, but they walk into, they see 5 homes, and they're trying to gauge those 5 homes, not what they can be. And us as realtors, as buyer's agents, we need to get more into selling that home on what it can be, as opposed to this is what it is today. This home needs a lot of work, or with a lot of work, this home could be. How are you going to frame that question? Because this home needs a lot of work is not going to get the buyer to go, yeah, that's great, but I'm going to buy it. With a lot of work, this home could be, and you start showing them what it can look like and where it can go and what the value would be fixed up, that changes things.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, price, will dictate all that too. If the house needs work, you got to price it accordingly, and then the buyers will adapt to that and go, I could see.
But what do you
that.
mean? My house is the nicest house on the block, even though it needs $200,000 worth of work.
Right, but you have to have those tough conversations, and it's okay to say no. And that's what I'm telling a lot of agents now, my agents, is that, hey, you know what, it's okay to say no to a listing if it's too much, and if you want to go with the seller's price or what have you, okay, but then we have to have definitive price reductions in writing on the listing agreement saying, okay, we're going to try at your price, but if in 2 weeks I get no action, no offers, we're dropping to this. Another 2 weeks, we'll drop to this, and we have a definitive plan. And unfortunately, we're always the yes person, and we just are so desperate now because deals are fewer and far between that we're accepting, the seller's price, and then the house is getting stale. And then we have to cancel the listing because they're not happy with our services. But it wasn't really anything to do with our services. It had to do with the price that the seller wanted, right? And then they blame the realtor every time.
And here's a great scenario. Let's list high so we can come down, right? So we listed $1 million. We come down to $950 because that was where it should be. It should actually be at about $925. We get an offer for $925. And your seller turns to you and says, I already came down $50,000. It's like, no, you didn't. Like that was never the sale price. And something that I talk with my agents and my clients a lot about is you can't underprice a home, but you can overprice a home. Right? You can't underprice a home by $1 or $100 or $1 million, but you can overprice a home by a couple dollars that nobody is going to look at it. So think about that and use that ideology when you're sitting with your clients, because they're hiring you to sell the home.
Yeah.
Or they're hiring you to help you buy a home. Give them the reality that they're going to be faced with so they understand. And from there, they're going to respect more of what you say than if you're just kind of going along with whatever they want to do, and then you're just kind of bobbing and weaving, so to speak. Be the consultant that people are hiring us to be.
One thing too about pricing, though, and you're saying you can't price a home too low, which is true, and there's actually data, and I got to pull up the article. I want to share this at the next meeting, though, that prices that are houses that are priced to do a bidding war, typically you'll get more money for them than prices that are listed at a higher price where you have to negotiate down.
Absolutely.
When you create that supply and demand situation, you're going to get the most for it and create in the mind of the buyer kind of that sense of urgency and that competition mindset where people will pay more.
Yeah. So I had a house like that a couple months ago that we sold, and told the seller, price it low so we can get a bidding war and see what we can do. We got one offer.
Oh my God.
One came in, got it in escrow, put it together, and the seller turned to me and said, I thought we were going to get multiple offers and push through.
Yeah.
I said, I told you we would sell this home for what it was worth. I'd get you as much money as any buyer would pay you for it. We had one buyer come out and say, this is what I'd pay for it. That's the value.
Yeah.
All right. And, there's a thing, coming from Wall Street, we talk about the market never lies. Okay. And, if you buy a share of stock for X, for $100 and you hand it to me and say, hey, sell this tomorrow for $125 because I want to make a profit. It's not exactly the way the stock market works, and it's certainly not the way real estate works. So you need to understand when we're sitting with our clients to illustrate the fact that we're going to get them what the market prevails, not what they want. Hopefully, the market pushes through what they want, but if it doesn't, this is what the market says it's worth. This is what your home is worth.
Yeah. And I have a listing right now where, I ran the comps and I know we could get this thing appraised for like 950. And I told them like the property's probably worth 950 considering the comps. But the property and the market right now is so unpredictable and things are so finicky at the moment. And I said, listen, we got to list this thing at $899. If you really want to get this thing sold in a reasonable amount of time. And he's like, really? Because like he got excited at 950, and then he didn't even think you could get to there. And I'm like, well, I have the comps to do it. And so we agreed at 899. I told him, listen, I think I can get you over the list price, but there's a chance maybe I don't. And it just comes down to what the market's going to do. There's so much going on right now. It is uncertain. So setting up your clients' expectations too, I think, is really critical in these times, even more so than ever. There's no for sure thing.
No.
You got to really do your research. And if you're in an area where you're not familiar, you need to call the other agents in the area and see what's going on, and to ensure you're doing the right thing for your client when it comes down to the pricing situation. And try not to make any promises. But what else we got here? We got design trends, home gyms, natural light, private spaces, buyer must-haves. Yes, wellness is a huge thing. I think since COVID, it's kind of like wellness kind of took off in a sense.
Yeah.
People more concerned about their health and what's going on, and implementing some of these little must-haves, I think, it's inexpensive, but very marketable, especially to the right person. You say, hey, there's a little yoga studio in the back. What does a yoga studio have? It's just like wood floor and a couple mats.
It's a room, right?
It's a room with mats.
But again, and now you're getting into sales where telling somebody what to use a room for, or saying there's a room, you could use it for anything you want. Okay, it's a huge difference. Hey, you know what? This would make a great personal gym. Is that something? Or you're talking to somebody saying, do you exercise? Do you work out every day? This room in here would be a great personal gym. It's got a bathroom right off it where you could shower, and now you're painting a picture for them that they're seeing a little bit more of what they can do with the home than just walking through and trying to map it out themselves. We see homes every day, right? Hopefully many homes a day. We know the design trends. We know what's working and what's not working in facts like that. And by bringing that to your client, it's just giving you that much more latitude with them, and building you up for them to understand that you are the consultant.
100%. And our job is to create that vision in the sense of what the buyer could be doing with that property, whether it's a fixer, whether it's turnkey, whether it's a certain room, a certain layout, where the property's located, envisioning that, helping them create that vision of what it'll be like to be in that property, so but understanding the buyer too when they do come in, and looking at the person. If you look at somebody and you go, they probably don't work out, but maybe they look like you see a keychain for a movie, you're like, they're a movie person. Well, we can make this into a theater. Things like that. So you have to be, understanding of who you're dealing with.
How do you do that? You ask questions.
Right.
What are you looking for in a home? Okay, what are your must-haves? Just getting to know them, right? Finding out exactly what they're looking for, and actually bringing them into homes and showing them, hey, this marks all your boxes. This is what you told me you're looking for. Let me show you why. All right. I know when I was looking for a home, the house I'm in now, my wife and I walked in, fell in love with it, looked at each other and said, yeah, we don't want it. And we left, right? And only sitting in the car did we realize we were literally talking ourselves out of that property. Right? So we went back in, we took another look, and we said, oh, wait, this does hit all the boxes. Because buyers are so just slammed with what's going on, they're almost afraid to make the wrong decision.
Right.
And here's the thing, they don't want to be sold. All right? And you should not be selling. Okay, the idea behind this is finding out what they want and showing them what properties have that, and if they can't see it, illustrating it. Okay, that's consulting. And by consulting somebody through a deal, they're going to be grateful at the end, as opposed to selling them something where they're going to be skeptical at every turn. Right? And the most important thing in your world when you're dealing with a client is them to have gratitude towards the information that you're giving, not skepticism.
Absolutely. And, there's a fine line between sales and kind of being that consultant.
Very
and
fine.
When you're putting on pressure, it's not like it's a used car or something like that. And even with that, it's always like, let them kind of come to you. You give them the facts about the property, highlight certain things that anything that comes down to really knowing the buyer, them really well, then you can highlight certain things that they will appreciate. And then the sale becomes really easy. Forcing somebody into the major decision like this is not anything that anybody wants.
So how do you do that? Couple simple questions you can ask. Amir, what do you think? Can you see yourself living here?
Yes,
Okay.
I can, or no, I can't, or I like it, but...
Okay. Do you see, or Amir, would you like to write an offer today? Amir does not want to write an offer. Amir wants to buy a house.
Yes.
Okay? So by saying, hey, can you see yourself living here? If he says yes, great. You want to write it up?
Right.
Not, you want me to write an offer? Want us to go sit down? Would you like to write it up?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, let's do that. Okay? Now when we're sitting down and we're discussing it, now I can start working with him and saying, hey, you know what? So as we're doing this offer, understand, this is our first run through. We could get it, we might not get it. Now you can start pulling it away from them and getting them interested in it, as opposed to from the very beginning saying, do you want to write an offer? Because writing an offer is extremely scary in a buyer's world. That's the commitment.
Yeah, especially if they're like a first-time buyer.
Absolutely.
So.
And by saying, can you see yourself living here? That's giving them the idea. And you're going to see them after you ask that question, they're going to take a step back and they're going to look around. They're going to take a second look and be like, can I see myself living here? Because no other agents asked them that question, right? If we're in a living room and and the house is furnished, I'll sit on the couch with them.
Yeah.
Literally sitting on the couch at the coffee table. So what do you think? Is this home? Right? You talk to the kids. Have you picked out your room? Which one do you like best? Right? Creating that. Oh my God, this is where my feet might be in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Gives them the understanding of how much they might or might not want this home. And from there, that's when they will be willing to make the move or not make the move.
Exactly. All right, so season. There's different seasons for different properties. It's funny, it's like depending on the
think
climate.
The season's coming back, right?
Well, the season's been back. I mean, so to speak. But and it was funny is different areas pose different types of seasons. It's there's some areas that are really hot where in the wintertime it is more of a selling season, and vice versa. If
Sure.
it's really cold in certain times of the year, then that might not be the time to sell. But seasonal real estate is definitely back. I believe that it is always kind of been there, but it's been more prevalent in uncertain years,
Right.
and after COVID, it's kind of, the lines were blurred a little bit because of the low inventory, but now that inventory levels are creeping up, it's going to be more prevalent, for sure.
Now, what you need to understand about the seasonal real estate is just because home sales slow down in the winter, it doesn't mean take your foot off the gas and don't look for any business in the winter. Okay, if you're looking for business in the winter, you're going to be the one who finds it, because most agents are going to scale back as the seasons kind of do their thing. So think about that as you're working through. Case in point, the past 7 years, my fourth quarter has always been my best.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's October, November, December, when everybody's supposed to be taking a break.
Yeah.
I'm closing the most deals.
Yeah.
Why? Probably because I'm working my tail off now, right? Building up my momentum, and then going into those final months, really cranking it out. And if you have a good October, November, December, there's a really good chance you're going to come out in January, February, and March with some business as well.
Yeah.
If you take your foot off the gas through those final months because it's the winter and nobody's buying homes, January, February, March are going to really show you what it's like when people aren't buying homes.
100%. And that's the problem is like during those winter months, people or agents specifically just kind of take themselves off the market due to holidays.
Yeah.
But there are people that do need to sell, and there are people that do need to buy. There's people that are relocating. There's death in the family. There's and people who are inheriting properties, divorces that are happening. There's situations where you might have a hot home in a neighborhood that doesn't matter what time of year if that home pops up, that family's buying due to the school district or whatever. So we don't pass on those opportunities, and if you keep your throttle down on your marketing, you're going to notice that you're going to have business all year round. It's when we pull the throttle off and pull back, then we notice that things are slowing down. But in summer times, kids are out of school, right? So you're going to see more families out there looking for properties, especially in areas that have good school districts. That's when lots of families want to move. And then throughout the rest of the year and fall and different times, you might find that more investors are making moves and trying to acquire properties where it doesn't matter if you're selling a duplex, fourplex, or a big commercial building, what time of the year. Dollars is dollars. Profit is profit. When it comes to that, it's all a numbers game.
And you hit a point right there with it doesn't matter what time of year. In residential sales, in the nice weather, you get a lot more people coming to your open houses. Why? Because people are just out looking. And open houses are kind of interesting to a lot of people. So think about that. Through the summers, you may be meeting a lot more people, but are you meeting quality buyers that are looking to make a move today? On the flip side, it's very rare you're going to be doing an open house in the middle of, say, November or December.
Yeah.
And anybody who walks through that house isn't somebody who's looking to buy a house.
Right.
They may not be looking to buy that house, but they are in the market to buy a house if they're out looking through the winter months. And so you want to think about that aspect of your marketing, right? You're marketing to more motivated buyers and sellers, I believe, in the off-market times than in the on-market times.
Right.
So it's and we get paid for results. We don't get paid for how many people we speak to. We don't get paid for how many people show up to our open house. We get paid for the one person who makes the offer. We get paid for the one person who signs the contract. It only takes one. So think about that as you're kind of building through this and sitting back and going, I'll wait till the market comes back, right?
Exactly. It only takes that one person. Just in recap, so it's about inventory right now. So and then pricing, right? You have to price a property right. No matter what the condition is, it has to be priced right.
And marketing. You got to get it out in front of people. You can't just trust the internet to do its thing. You personally have got to get that information out there. It's why people are hiring you.
Exactly. And it's the demand for move-in homes is definitely there. If you can convince your sellers to put the money in to get the property fixed, you're going to be in a much better position when it comes down to getting multiple offers and getting more people. And it's always been that way. So that's definitely helping you make your property more marketable. The economic uncertainty is still there, so you've got to price it correctly and understand what buyers are thinking. So when you present so much value in a property, then there's no reason why they would wait. They can overlook all of those uncertainties and go ahead and move forward and feel comfortable with that big purchase, right?
And again, you just have to paint that picture of where they want to be, and is this home going to paint? Is this home the canvas for them? If it's not, go find the one that is. They're out there, and the client will appreciate you much more by showing them what this home can be, as opposed to telling them what it needs to be.
Exactly, and hopefully interest rates will come down, but if not, we're going to still going to be seeing more inventory coming up. And so you've got to be able to hit the price of these homes harder as time goes on. Don't be caught in this do the seller price. Have definitive times to reduce that price to get it down to where it should be. If you're looking at comps from 3 to 6 months ago, hit the property hard at, like, I think 10% below that, to be on the safe side. And just keep in mind, you can't price a property too low, as Vance said. And the trends do show, and I got to find this article and I'll share it with you guys, is that if you are pricing it too low and you have a bidding war, you will make more money on the property than if you're setting the price too high and kind of chasing down the market, right?
As a buyer or a seller's agent, folks, we're being hired for our expertise, our marketing know-how, and even more so, our approach. So think about that. And what are you personally offering your clients in the buy or the sell?
And, adding, sort of some wellness sort of features to a home, or creating a vision for your buyers when they come in of certain things that they can do the property that adapt to the things that they want. If you see the guys pulling up in a cool car, going into the garage and showing all the cool things, you can do that. Or maybe, they work for the movies, or maybe they're music, creating a studio, whatever it is. Try to understand your clients' wants and needs, and what they're looking for. And if you understand that, the rest can be easy as far as creating that buyer experience and in helping them envision themselves in the home.
You cannot ask enough questions if they're clarifying questions to help you understand what your buyer is looking for. If you're asking questions just to pepper them with questions, that's going to get very annoying. Mm-hmm. But just ask the questions that help you understand what they're looking for, and even more so, help you find the property and paint that picture for them to show them exactly what they're standing in. Because a lot of times you've got a buyer in the home, it's the house for them, and they're not buying it. And that falls on us. Mm-hmm. Right? That falls on us when we start not showing the buyer that they're in the right home. Mm-hmm. Because again,
make that connection.
They don't want to be sold anything, but they're willing to buy.
100%. And then seasonal, don't let the seasons get you down, but have a clear understanding of, what inventory is out there and what you're selling, and how to strategically place that property in the marketplace at any given time, and keep your pedal down, as far as your foot down the pedal, as far as marketing all year round. Don't get caught in it's a slow time, it's winter, and just focus on travel and family. We're seeing that now in summer, as well as winter, that now people are checking out for summer, they're traveling, they're going all over the world, whatever, and they're not really focused. Kids are out of school, specifically for realtors too. Realtors' kids are out of school, so they might be focusing more on that. Don't forget, we all have a job to do, and no matter what the season is.
Winter, spring, summer, or fall.
Yeah.
Sell.
Real estate doesn't sleep, right?
It doesn't sleep.
It's always there.
So I think we're wrapping up.
We'll wrap it up. Yeah. No, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to episode 25, Home Buying Trends and Buyer Behavior. Please like and subscribe, and mention any questions or comments you have in the comment section. We'd love to hear your feedback. And this is Amir Al-Kayat. Thank you very much.
And Vance Mizzi, as always, it's a pleasure, an honor, and truly a privilege to spend this time with you guys. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you real soon.